What's going on, guys? This is the Loyal BBN fan, and I'm back again with another weekly update from my Kentucky Wildcats. And I tell you what, one thing is for sure about college basketball this past week, it's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And, you know, when it comes to the Kentucky Wildcats, it's always a crazy time. I mean, it wouldn't be Kentucky if you didn't have a lot of crazy stuff going on. Positive things, some not so good, you know, the fans would like to have. You know, some few things I want to touch on this in this episode is going up to South Carolina, losing to those guys, then going down the shenanigans that we had to deal with in Arkansas, and just college basketball and just how crazy it's been all week long. You know, you got Duke lost 2 games in a row, which you don't hardly see at all. But I think both of those games was actually at home. So, well, actually, one of them was in Clemson, and the other one was at home to Louisville. So, I mean, it's just been one of those crazy weeks that just like no one really thought that it was going to be this type of week, but it has been. So let's just jump right into this and let's just get going. So let's just start with going down to the Gamecocks in South Carolina. And I tell you what, that was a game that us as Kentucky fans, you know, we know it was going to be a hostile crowd. We knew going into that the crowd was going to just be crazy and win. But you know, one thing about South Carolina, they haven't really been good all year long. You know, they've been a very lukewarm team. You know, that's kind of been playing, okay, today we good, the next day we suck and we horrible. But, you know, just like I've always said and so many other people say, even John Calipari and the rest of his staff and even the players would say one thing in common. When we go and when we play teams, this is their Super Bowl. So the guys who hardly ever play great, they just seem to find that energy to just want to play great against Kentucky. And we came out in the game and we smacked them in the face. You know, we let them have it, and we showed them who was the king of the SEC. And you know, we had everything going. The first half was, you know, we had some turnovers and stuff like that, but overall, you know, the first half of basketball was something that you like. Okay, hey, you know, we got this. This is good. But you know, it reminds me of the Georgia game that we had, and Georgia had us up at halftime, and they went in as if like they just won the Super Bowl or something. And well, you know how that ended. We came in and we interrupted that. Now I'm not quite sure. You know, I don't think we went in at halftime, or at least I hope we didn't. We went in at halftime like, well, we got this game. Let's just pack it in. Let's just close it out and let's just go home. So because if we had that mentality, then it definitely showed in the second half, because come the second half, you had a different South Carolina team than what you've seen in the first half. That team came out aggressive. They smacked us in the mouth. They out-rebounded us. They out-hustled us, you know, and they just showed that, hey, we wanted it. And one thing about their crowd got into it fast, early and fast. And that makes a big difference when you're playing in a hostile environment. That crowd, you know, they know who it is. You know, we have a history with South Carolina, and it's, you know, it's nothing uncommon, because we know that it's coming anytime we go into South Carolina and play. But those guys came out in the second half, and those guys just played basketball. You know, they pushed us to the max. We came back, and you know, we made it a game. One thing about our guys is, for one thing, let me point this out. It should have never been a close game like it was anyway. It should, you know, we should have blown them out as we was doing in the first half. But unfortunately, we had the Georgia syndrome, and we got the big head, and we wasn't able to come out in the first half and actually truly produce, which is crazy, because I don't know who we was in the second half, but the second half, we wasn't the Kentucky Wildcats. And they went on a roll, and while we had a lead, they chopped into it bit by bit by bit, and before you know it, they actually took the lead. Now, at the end of the ball game, you know, Quigley, I tell you, I gotta give hats off to Quigley. Quigley played his butt off, and Quigley, you know, in some sense, he single-handedly kept us in the ball game. And he made a big shot there to tie it up, towards the end of the ball game. Now, there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of saying I would have did this and I would have did that if I was John Calipari. But a lot of people wanted him to actually. A lot of people thought that, hey, John, maybe you should just go ahead and just call timeout, group up, make sure we understand what's going on. Because anybody could have saw that. Hey, if we would have just the way that we could have, guarded the inbound, if we could have just had the ball, the guy's back facing the basket when he received the ball, because he basically received the ball in somewhat of a little stride, because his body was basically full, was facing his goal. So he basically just took the ball and just took off. So it's you look at it and you say, well, what does that really matter if the guy's back, was faced if the guy's back was faced his goal or not? Because when you take the ball, you got to turn around, because as soon as you touch that ball, that clock starts. So he still got to turn around. And if we would have drew up something at that end, a good defensive play, then we could have just distracted him for maybe 2 seconds. And since they only had like 4 seconds to go, that turns a 3-point shot into a half-point shot, which makes a huge difference, because, the probability of hitting half-court shots are not that huge. But since we didn't, and the guy pretty much just walked the ball up court, you had Quigley there at the 3-point line. You had Nick Richards, who came out at the last second, but he just made it to, he didn't make it there in time in order to actually get there and actually, contest the shot. The guy got a shot up, it hit the backboard and went in. Game over. So that's a devastating loss that we took. That's one of those losses where we shouldn't have had that loss. We should have beat South Carolina in that ball game. And South Carolina know we should have beat them, but we didn't block out. We didn't hit. We very uncharacteristic at the foul line, missing free throws. But they could have quit, but they didn't. They fought, and I have a lot of respect for our team for actually doing that, for actually hanging in there and not giving up and just seeing what could happen. But it didn't come out in our favor. It was rough. Usually that's one of those games that Coach Cal actually gets thrown out of, which we'll talk about later. We'll talk about later in this podcast, in this show, about that issue and what's going on. But, that's one of those games that we're going to look back on the year and say that's a game that, that we should have lost. It seems right now that besides from the Ohio State game, it seems the thing that we're doing is we're losing to teams that we know that we should have beat. I don't know what it is. I don't know why that is this year, but we're losing to teams that we should beat. And beside the Ohio State game, we won all the other games. We won those big games. And, you got to wonder what's the mindset of our guys and why that is. Do our guys go ahead and look past those teams and say, let's move on? That's just another game that we got to go play. Because if they take them serious, then, at the most, we should have one loss this year. And that should only be to Ohio State. And we actually gave them a run down the road. But that should be our only loss. It should be to Ohio State. We should actually be number one in the country right now. But to me, rankings is not all that big, this year anyway, because college basketball is so up. If it wasn't for Gonzaga having such an easy schedule, an easy walk, there's no way that those guys would be where they at right now. They would have lost as well, too. So no team is safe. You got the Kansases, you got the Dukes, you got the Michigan States, you got the Kentuckys. You got all us losing ball games that are very uncharacteristic of who we are as a ball club. So, as Kentucky, we just got to really just focus on what it is we got to do as a team so that we can eliminate these losses, especially the losses to the teams that we're supposed to lose. That we're supposed to beat. Because come March, come the selection Sunday, all this is going to take place. All this is going to come up. Kentucky Wildcats, well, they lost to South Carolina and they lost to Evansville, and They lost to Utah and they lost to Ohio State. And it's kind of like, dude, like, when does this pain stop? You know, when does this process of losing to teams that we shouldn't be losing to? So we definitely got to find a way to fix that area, and we got to move past that. Another thing that I say about us losing and the mistakes that we're making, you know, I say this a lot on my Facebook page, the Loyal BBN Fan, that I'm glad that while I don't want to lose, I want to win championship number 9. And if that means that we learn and that means we take a loss in the process of learning in order for us to reach that goal in March, then I'm okay with that. But as long as we're learning, we have to have growth in what we're doing. You know, we have to come together and put together a whole complete 40-minute ball game. And while we've won ball games, it's some ball games that we haven't played a whole complete 40 minutes, really solid ball game like we are or like we should be playing. But then again, what team in America is truly playing 40 minutes of solid basketball every single ball game? You got Kansas was on the rope this weekend. You got you got all these teams. You had Oklahoma State had Oklahoma State. They had I think it was Baylor on the rope or something like that. So, you know, that's just one of those things that we have to get better in college basketball this year for Kentucky. And you can see that for a lot of other teams moving forward as well, too. And I think it's doable. I think our guys are growing. I think our guys are getting more in tune with who they playing with. Our lobs are getting better. Our communication on the floor is getting better. We're playing defense. Like, you know, this year one of our biggest questions was, can we guard the three-point line? And, you know, teams that's coming into playing us that's been shooting good three-pointers, you know, we've done a really, really good job so far of really, really breaking that down. So really breaking that up and making teams running off the line because they can't get a good shot off. Of course, we can't stop all the shots from going in because no team can. But we've been doing a lot better on the three-point line. So if we just continue to grow as a team, continue to build, continue to do what we know that we're capable of doing as a team, I don't think we have anything to really worry about come March, because at this particular point in time, the championship this year can go to anybody. No one is out because everyone plays for their life when it comes March. So I really feel like that's really where we're going. So we're just going to have to just continue to just find our rhythm, continue to get better, continue to understand who we playing, you know, who's on the floor with us at any particular time, and understand their ball game and understand how we can be effective in winning more ball games and stop letting teams beat us who have absolutely no reason to beat us. So, you know, that's just one of them things that I think we're going to get together and we're going to fix. And that's what makes me happy about the Kentucky Wildcats this year, is because things are just going to go. You know, things are going to move, and I'm okay with that because we're getting better. And that's what this is all about. How are you progressing towards March? You know, how are you making strides better than when March comes, that you're definitely going to be ready for anything that's thrown at you. And I think the experience that we're getting, you know, that's valuable come down the road. And I really like where we're headed. But once again, we got to stop losing to these teams that we have no reason to lose to, because we're a better team than these guys. But we have to go out on the floor, and we definitely have to set it straight and do what it is that we do, and that's beat these teams. That's just the bottom line. We got to do it. And I think Coach Cal, Coach Kenny, all those guys around the program are working towards that. And we're working towards the advancement and knowledge of being better at what we do. So do your job and let everything take care of itself. And that's how you win ball games, no matter what you do. That's my Wildcat, so you know how it's going to be. So I'm going to pause for us. All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. This is the Loyal BBN show right now, and we just talking about Kentucky basketball and what's going on in college basketball these days, and just how it's been such a huge roller coaster of teams losing and winning and moving and going, and it's been one crazy week of college basketball. And like I said earlier, you wouldn't have crazy without having Kentucky. So. We lost to South Carolina, and then we go down to another hostile environment in Arkansas. And what a game that was. That was one feisty game right there. That's another game. See, one thing that we have to do as a ball club, we have to learn to not to sound aggressive and mean and angry, but we have to learn to put our foot on people's throat and crush their spirits, because we allow teams to get that momentum going, and we allow them to get hope. And when you give somebody hope, that's dangerous. That's really dangerous when you give a team hope. And that's what we gave to Arkansas this weekend. We gave those guys hope because we smacked them in the mouth. We took them out of their environment inside their house. And because of that, things went our way. The first half, we went into halftime winning. The crowd was out of it. We was in it. We was the underdogs by 1 point, according to Vegas. We were supposed to lose that ball game in Arkansas. But we came out in the second half, and once again, we did what we were supposed to do for a little bit, but then we reverted. We reverted back to what it is that we've been doing for a long time now, and that is allowing teams to get back in it, which is something that we just can't have. We can't allow teams hope. We can't allow teams to get back into it. We got to find a way, once again, to crush people's soul. And one thing about the Arkansas crowd, I tell you what, that crowd was absolutely loud, and they knew they was loud. Once, they wasn't loud until they started making that run, because at first we shut them down. I mean, you could hear a pin drop in there, because we went down there and whole country, and we was taking care of business. But we got sloppy. We didn't take care of the right thing. We had an enormous amount of fouls. I don't know if it was the referees. I don't know what it was, but it was some straight bogus calls that night in that ball game. And some of the fouls you can't justify on why they was calling. But once again, we're on the road. We're Kentucky. We know how it's going to be. People don't care for Kentucky basketball. And because of that, we got to go on the road, and we can't expect to get any help from anybody except the guys that's next to us in the same uniform. Those are the guys who you have to depend on. And that's what we did down the stretch. Now, they made a run, okay? The crowd was absolutely amazing. They made a run. Here they go. It was our team was melting. And then the big infamous scandal happened. Coach Cal was just over the line of where he was supposed to be. The guy asked Cal to leave. The Cal didn't leave. So the guy teed Cal up. He said to go back. Cal still didn't go back. So they threw Cal out of the ball game. And that roof basically trembled. That whole stadium went crazy because Coach Cal had got it out. But what we found out later is Ashton Higgins, our point guard, he went ahead and talked to Coach and told Coach, we got this. So Coach walked on off the court. Now, we realized one thing. Did Cal do this on purpose? When a coach is going to get a technical foul, once he gets it, what happens? The assistant coaches always comes and pulls him back. Always throws him off and says, let's go back to the bench. There was no coach. There was no player in sight. It happened so fast that you have to ask the question, was that on purpose? Did Calipari get a tech? On purpose. Did he get ejected? On purpose. Did he have something up his sleeve? Well, let me say this. I can't confirm whether Cal did that on purpose. I can't confirm if Cal wanted to get ejected on purpose. But I can tell you one thing what happened is when Cal got ejected, it lit a fire up under our butts. Coach Kenny took him to the side and says, we're going to have to do it. I love the quote that Coach Kenny Payne said to Brooks. I'm not taking you out. You're going to have to get it. You're going to have to figure this out. And Brooks came down and he figured it out. We got some minutes from Brooks. We got some good minutes from Juzang. Still didn't see a lot from Whitley. Still didn't see a whole lot from him. Don't know what's going on with him. Confidence level. We went through the same thing with Nick Richards for now, for 2 years. He was a big-time player coming in. Whitley was his big-time player coming in. So we had these same issues, before. So we just have to be patient with those guys. So until next man up. The next man up was Brooks and Juzang. And those guys came in and they gave us some valuable minutes. They gave us some points. I have to note that Nate Sestina is really starting to shoot the ball now. He's starting, we brought him here for a shooter, and he's really starting to shoot the ball. I love the energy that Keon Brooks brings. That guy brings so much energy. Now, we still got to bring E.J. Montgomery along. Montgomery should be bringing other people along with him, but we should be bringing him along as well, too. But that ain't the case. So, like I said, I asked a question the other day on my Facebook page, the Loyal BBN fan, and I asked the question, can we survive with a 6 or 7 man rotation? A lot of people say yes, we can. A lot of people say no. Why would we if we got the bench? Well, we got to go with the people who's willing to get out there and play. And while Whitney is a great athletic kid, they was one of the guys that I really look forward to actually seeing playing this year. He hasn't gotten it yet. And that's okay. We have to be patient because, we expect so much for these young guys coming in straight out of high school that the amount of pressure that they put on is enormous. It's a lot of stuff riding on each ball game. Every time they step on the court, it's so much riding, It's bigger than a win or lose. It's so much bigger than that. So there's a lot of pressure on these guys. But nonetheless, Cal got ejected. We came out. Let me tell you, we went on a 15-0 run. They had no idea that we was going to smack them in the face like that. Them wanting to see Calipari get ejected from the ball game was a huge mistake. And I hope other teams see that as well, that ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. You don't want to see Cal get thrown out because the kids, they play at a different caliber. We did something that we don't do a whole lot with Coach Payne. We ran the zone. We ran the zone a lot because we had to. And that shut down a lot of stuff. That allowed Ashton Higgins to stay on the floor with 4 fouls. He eventually fouled out, but it gave him a lot of time to actually stay in the ball game. We took the life right out of the arena. Again, people start leaving early because they realize, hey, this is over. We're not going to beat Kentucky today. We're going to get our first loss today. It's our hopes are drained. Our hopes are no good anymore. And we came back and we smacked them in the mouth because, cheaters never win. And that's what was going on. We was getting cheated. That call that EJ got called where all he did was stood up and got a foul. No, on that offensive foul, that's bogus, man. That don't even make any sense. So, in summary, we got to keep playing hard. We got to keep playing and we got to keep progressing and we got to keep growing every single day as a team and as a unit. As long as we continue to do that, I promise you one thing, Kentucky is going to be very, very successful. So, keep it up. My Wildcats are going to continue to win. They're going to continue to play ball. And I tell you what, nothing better in this world than watching my Wildcats beat teams and, walk away with a victory. That's sweet, sweet, sweet. And that's my Wildcats. So, hey, this has been the Loyal BBN fan. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Follow me on iTunes. Follow me on, on iTunes, on iHeart. You guys can check it out, and we can continue to do this. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you later.
Welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. Morning comes and you know that you wanna stay.